Hi, everyone. My name's Lydia, and I am the program manager at Timber Point Outdoor Center. And I am so super excited to be here with you today virtually, presenting our Easterseals Giving Circle opportunity, which is a campership opportunity. And if nothing else, I'm here to share camp with you today, which is always exciting. I love to talk about it and leave you with the knowledge that camp is so much more than meets the eye. So a little background on who we are out here at Timber Point Outdoor Center. We are, as you know, owned and operated by Easterseals Central Illinois, and we're located right on Lake Bloomington in Hudson, which is about 20 minutes north of Bloomington Normal, on a beautiful 170-acre property of gorgeous green space. Our mission is to be the premier resource in the state of Illinois for providing specialized outdoor recreational, experiential, and family programs in a safe, accessible, and of course, fun environment. So who do we serve? We serve both children and adults with a really wide variety of disabilities and challenging illnesses. So that could range anything from Down syndrome to autism to a traumatic brain injury, cerebral palsy, cancer, pretty much you name it, and we see it out here at Timber Point. So it's a really wide range, really wide variety. We'll never say no because of someone's diagnosis or disability. We also serve families, and I'll talk about that more a little bit later, but families who have at least one child with a disability. So at camp, we like to think of it as, its own little utopia where we build community and connection and really an overall culture that can then expand into the outside world. So at camp, we value accomplishment, accessibility, and adventure. And we recognize that accomplishment is going to look different for everybody and for every individual. It's going to look a little different. It's going to sound a little different. Everyone's wins are different at camp. We also stand by the Easterseals mission, of course, of 100% inclusion and 100% empowerment. And so at camp, what that looks like is we will not run an activity unless every single camper is able to participate in that activity. We focus on what campers can do, not on what they cannot. So a lot of times our campers are told the words can't outside of camp. And here we focus on what they can do. We look at their strengths and their abilities, and we recognize and celebrate those. And lastly, at camp, we recognize that inclusion is not special treatment. It's equal treatment and it's equal opportunities, and that goes for camp as well. Everyone should be able to come to camp, access camp, play at camp, and connect at camp. So when do we have camp? So obviously our main season is summer. So during the summer, we have 2 weeks of staff training and then 10 to 11 weeks of summer camp. This upcoming summer will have 10 weeks. And so those will compose of a variety of camps. So we'll run our own Timber Point overnight camps and day camps where we recruit our own campers. And then we'll also work with partner groups. So for instance, St. Jude's come out here and they bring out kiddos with cancer or a bleeding disorder to stay and play with us for a week at camp. We also do family retreats. As I mentioned before, we serve the whole family. So a whole family will come out here. They'll get their own cabin, meals for the weekend. It's a 2-night stay, and they'll get to sign up for all of our camp activities and get to participate in camp adventures together as a family. So that's something we've ramped up with since COVID, and we've gotten the most positive response from our family retreats. Because oftentimes vacations, hotels are not fully accessible for a lot of individuals with disabilities, even when they say that they are. And last but not least, we do respite weekend camps. So those are year-round, providing that year-round opportunity for a break for parents and caregivers and year-round engagement for our campers to come out and connect and play and experience camp, because there's not a lot of opportunities out there for our kids and adults with disabilities to experience that and get some activity. All right, so what activities do we do? Speaking of activities, we do pretty much everything you think of when you think of camp and then some. So we do horseback riding, swimming, canoeing. We have a zip line that is completely adaptive, a giant swing, also completely adaptive. Everything you see here is entirely adaptive, meaning that even our campers in wheelchairs will get on the zip line and go flying through the air. And then we do creative activities, so arts and crafts, cooking, sensory play, and so much more. Scavenger hunts, food fights, all the messy, silly, wacky things you can only do at camp that leave unforgettable memories for both our campers and our staff. So our day camps are inclusive. So they're Monday through Friday, and they're for kids 5 to 17, both with or without a disability. Every week of camp has its own unique theme. So for instance, under the big top week might be all about the circus. We might have a shipwrecked week that's all about pirates and mermaids and tropical oases. So every week that they come, if they come for multiple weeks, it's going to be entirely unique. Our overnight camps run Sunday through Friday, so campers stay in bunk beds with the staff. And of course, the benefit of overnight camp is more time to play. So every night there's a different nighttime activity. It might be a pool party, a dance party, a surprise activity like lip sync battles, messy Olympics, fear factor, all that fun stuff. The other benefit of overnight camp is they're spending time away from their immediate family unit. So that gives them increased chances to practice independence with life skills, social skills, to gain confidence, self-esteem. And then on the other side of things, you think about the parent and caregiver, and that offers them 5 nights of extended overnight respite where they can take time for themselves or for another family member, which oftentimes is hard to find when you're caring for a child, with a disability or challenging illness. So for a lot of low income families, camp is just not part of the budget. And for a lot of families in general, they see camp as this, kind of luxury extra experience, right? For us, we see camp as an essential experience that everyone should have access to, no matter their financial circumstances. Disability is generally more common among low-income households, and that's due to a variety of factors. But the thing is that these are often the children and adults that need camp the most, that need that extra love, that extra connection, that extra support that camp provides, that need a break from stressors of school or the home. And so last year, we saw 44% of our overnight and day campers that applied for financial assistance through us. So we do provide financial assistance, or as we call them, camperships, to make sure that there is no barrier, whether that's accessibility or financial barrier to coming to camp. And we continue to see that number rise, especially with the impact of COVID-19. So the next few slides are a couple quotes that actually were shared on that financial assistance application. So we give them a chance to tell us this full story, because we realize that what's on paper or on their tax return is not reflecting, what might be going on behind the scenes. So I'm going to read a couple to you guys. So my husband is disabled due to stage 4 cancer that is in remission, but we are now dealing with a different form of cancer and struggling big time. My son is autistic and has ADHD, so he needs as much opportunity for social skills as possible. I hope that he meets new friends and thrives at camp. I'm a single mother on a very tight budget. I can't afford to send him all on my own. I want him to be around others like him with disabilities and feel like he fits in. And lastly, this one says, their father has left and taken our savings with him. I've returned to school, but cannot earn enough with the time I have for work to provide more than just the basics. This year has been so isolating. My son doesn't see any value in making friends. I'm hoping he might find a few children with similar interests, and he'll understand how valuable friendship can be. My daughter loves to be with other children, but sometimes doubts herself. I hope she'll be proud of all she can accomplish at camp. So what we're presenting to you guys as the Easterseals Giving Circle is to provide 30 overnight camperships throughout summer. So $1,200 sends one camper for 1 week of camp, which I know some of you might be thinking, wow, it's a really steep price tag. But The reality is that our campers need more support. So because of that, our ratios are much lower than what you're going to find at another camp. So typically our ratios are 3 to 1 or better, never higher than 4 to 1 of a counselor to camper ratio. And then of course, all of our adaptive activities, all that combines into, a higher price tag than you might see elsewhere. So 30 campers times that 1,200, that's 36,000. But we also want you guys to realize that this opportunity is about more than the funding. And so it's the opportunity to really take ownership of one of our camp weeks. And that would be, potentially providing volunteers. So maybe people are coming out and helping us decorate the lodge before camp starts. We like to deck it out in that week's theme. Maybe they're sidewalking with horses, greeting campers at check-in, scooping ice cream at the dance, really getting to experience the magic of camp side by side with our campers. Maybe it's providing donated items. So running a duct tape drive, recyclables. The amount of toilet paper rolls I go through is actually insane. So, collecting that from the community, collecting Halloween costumes that people aren't using anymore. Love a good costume at camp. And then additional fun. So that extra magic, that extra 4,000 to get us to that 40,000, you guys would decide how to use, which is, the extra fun part of this opportunity. So a few ideas that I had would be obviously providing additional camper trips with that extra 4,000. Maybe it's making branded t-shirts or merch for campers attending. So our adult campers are always begging us for t-shirts, water bottles, and unfortunately that is just oftentimes not in the budget. But would be great, and they love that. Maybe it's bringing in special outside entertainment, so performers for Circus Week, an inflatable obstacle course, for Survivor Week, a wildlife show, things like that. Maybe it's making self-care baskets for parents and caregivers and handing it to them upon drop off. So, it's got some spa stuff and it's got a gift card for dinner for them to, finally get a dinner away with a partner or a friend. The possibilities are really endless. And so we would want your feedback and your input on what you would want to do with that extra 4,000. We're a tiny full-time team. So the extra hands, extra time, extra thought that would go into this would make it exponentially more magical and memorable than we could ever do alone. So when a lot of people think of camp, they think of a fun time, which believe me, it is very much so. But if there's one thing that I hope to leave you with today, it's the knowledge that camp is so much more, or as we like to say at camp, so much more than meets the eye. So when I think of camp, I think of Stacy, a camper with cerebral palsy who's been coming here for 32 years now, who, when asked at the November weekend camp what she was most thankful for, answered camp, a place where we can be ourselves. When I think of camp, I think of Juliana, a little girl who'd come straight to camp after a life-saving intestine transplant, whose parents watched her zoom down the adaptive zip line and said, "Now that's living." When I think of camp, I think of a whole room of 5 to 13-year-old day campers who learned how to applaud in sign language so they could all cheer for a fellow camper who's deaf after her talent show performance. When I think of camp, I think of the parents who were able to celebrate an anniversary at a restaurant that would have been too overwhelming for their child with autism. I think of the mom who told me she slept through the night for the first time in 7 years when her child was at overnight camp. I think of the parent of a child with a behavioral disorder who called me crying the first time I told her there was a situation, but we'd worked it out because previous programs were quick to kick him out, and one even telling him he'd end up in jail someday. When I think of camp, I think of all the individuals who've been told they can't, that they won't, that they will never be able to do a whole list of things. At camp, they can and they will. I think of all the individuals who haven't been invited to a sleepover or a slumber party. At camp, they are the VIPs of their very own. I think of all the individuals whose parents can't just call a babysitter or pass their child off to a relative to watch because most people don't know how to care for them. At camp, they feel safe leaving their most precious gift in our staff's well-trained care. So camp is more. Camp is more than rock climbing and zip lining. It's a sense of bravery and accomplishment. It's a chance to fly. Camp is more than songs and cheers. It's being a part of a community where you are loved and accepted for exactly who you are. Camp is more than canoeing and horseback riding. It's trying something new that you never thought possible because your brain or your body might work a little differently than somebody else's. Camp is more than dance parties and talent shows. It's a celebration of the meaningful relationships and memories created, of a week that is somehow both everlasting and fleeting at exactly the same time. Camp is more than mosquito bites and bunk beds. It's living life to the fullest and getting to experience things that you and I might not think twice about. Camp is more than time away from home. It's a chance to practice growing up outside of the immediate family, to gain independence, and to give parents and caregivers a very well deserved break. Camp is more than the woods and trails. It's the freedom to breathe, freedom to be, freedom to become. Camp is more than college age counselors and summer jobs. It's people that believe in you, love you unconditionally, and cheer you on through both successes and challenges, who will hold you in their hearts far past that summer. Camp is more than campfires. It's an experience that helps campers burn bright, that instills flames of confidence, independence, and hope that glow long after they leave our gates. Everyone deserves camp, and we hope that you'll help us give this gift to more individuals in 2022. So thank you.